Hey gang, welcome back to my channel, and today we're doing a showcase video for Lychee Slicer. So first and foremost, yes, this video is sponsored by Lychee. However, I've used Lychee Slicer for over 3 years now, and it's become my go-to slicer software when it comes to 3D printing. Not only was I thrilled to work with Lychee in bringing you this video, I was even more thrilled about introducing and showcasing the new features Lychee has made available in the latest 7.4.2 version. So in today's video, we will explore two amazing features on the Lychee Slicer app. Number one, the Lychee Library feature, and number two, the game-changing multiplate feature, which I foresee will be my most used feature on the slicer. And we will also test out our use case scenarios for both of these features. So before we get into the features of this update, what is a Lychee Slicer? So Lychee Slicer, in very simple terms, is a translator between your computer and your 3D printer. Lychee converts these 3D files that you've downloaded or sculpted into a layer by layer version of the file, so the printer knows exactly where to expose the UV rays in order to get your 3D file printing. Lychee Slicer is also compatible with over 750 3D printers, both in FDM and the resin space. And Lychee is also a free-to-use tool for all of your basic 3D printing needs and is largely usable without ever needing to upgrade. So the first key feature I want to highlight is the Lychee Library. Lychee is looking to build out a library of files that are supported and ready to hit your 3D printers. This library is a treasure trove for people that have hobbies that are 3D printing adjacent but not exactly 3D printing. What I mean by that is you do not need to learn the ins and outs of 3D printing if your primary hobby is to paint or play board games with a miniature army. Lychee makes it easy for you to get these files ready for printing, so you're spending less time fiddling around with finding 3D printable files, setting up supports, and finessing the settings. There is a huge catalog of miniatures and miniature diorama pieces that you can find in the Lychee Library. Creators like Trident Studio and Thread Factory, whose models I have used in today's video, stand out for their amazing sculpt work and details on their miniatures and diorama pieces. Marvel fans, Pokemon fans, and fans of the miniature hobby have so much to select from. And although I'm a DC fan through and through, and the DC category is slightly lacking for now, I found these DC files on Lychee I wanted to print. So before we get to that, to navigate to the Lychee library, you can simply press on the library button on the top menu. The library is visible even for free members, but to download and print these 3D models, you will need a Lychee library subscription of 19.99 euros. In the library tab, you can find categories on the left hand side and immediately jump into tabs that are of interest to you. And I was interested in printing miniatures and tabletop parts, so I clicked on that and found some really cool models. For superhero fans, you can also click into the figurines and fan art section for some quality statues by artists like Zez Studios. I've always wanted to get into the miniature hobby, and having small characters that you can print and play with sounds like a blast to me. My missus and I are super into board games, and I've always wanted to create a board game of my own with cool looking miniatures to play with if I had the time. However, for now, I'll have to make do with printing some DC minis like this Batman from the Batman movie and the Superman from the Injustice games from Trident Studios. We're also printing some crates and barrels from Thread Factory that will hopefully add some cool diorama parts to our 3D print. The setup process is super simple on Lychee. You simply click on Import Default Model button for the files and they will show up on your build plate. You can add multiple models into your build plate from different creators so that you are printing more at once and utilizing the maximum amount of space on your build plate. You need to download the high-res versions of the files before printing, and this also allows you to scale and tweak the files if required. Most of the files are pre-supported and ready to go, which expedites the process and makes printing even easier. I had this particular build plate ready to hit my printer in less than 5 minutes. You can then select your printer and materials for the print setup, but I've used my existing settings because I already had them. Also, the files that are available on Lychee Library can only be downloaded to the Lychee Slicer, which I think is a great initiative from Lychee to protect the creators and their 3D creations, because these files cannot be exported to your PC to then be edited on 3D modeling software. So with all of that out of the way, let's review the prints. So here we have all the models we printed from Trident Studios and Thread Factories. These two miniatures were printed using files from Trident Studios, and the diorama pieces here are all from Thread Factory. Cool thing, we'll start off with the diorama pieces. The cool thing is these pieces are highly detailed. They look amazing. There's a lot of sculpt work going on in there, and despite them being so small, I really enjoy the level of details that is on these models. They were pre-supported, so super easy to set up and print, which I absolutely love. There is variations to them as well. I'll just quickly change that light a little bit. There's a lot of variation to them as well. So there's one with a little bit of water in there, and the two here are actually shut closed. You've also got these amazing crate pieces that add so much to the background, and this just massive mountain of crates, which is a lot bigger than the figures, along with the diorama pieces. That is, I just really like how that looks, and the tarp going on top of everything just gives it that extra bit of attention to detail. So I think that this is a really awesome piece and print if you want to enhance your dioramas or your miniature collection. Trident has done an amazing job. We'll look at the Batman first, but that is amazing. That's a really nice sculpt. There's so much details that go into these miniatures, and at that scale, the printer being able to print all of this, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. Not too many support knobs or anything like that, because these are pre-supported by professionals, I believe professionals, and the figures come out looking absolutely clean. The diorama piece here with the gargoyle just looks amazing. Trident Studios has done amazing work with this. Painting it would have been a lot cooler as well, but unfortunately I couldn't get it done for this video, so I might paint them in the future, do a whole new print so that they're not stuck together, and then paint everything, make this look amazing. I am not the best in terms of painting, so I'll probably ask my wife for help, but the missus loves to paint, and she did mention that she was really excited to paint these, but yeah, I had to do this video, so we got here first. Anyway, that's a amazing figure with the diorama. The gargoyle looks awesome, and here we've got Superman from the Injustice games. We'll try to get it to focus. There we go. A lot of details in the face there. I think you can even see the teeth in the mouth there, and there's like a gaping mouth as well. The S on the chest, super visible. A lot of lines and sculpt happening everywhere. Superman in an angry kind of throwing a punch pose. That is, yeah, just phenomenal work by Trident Studios. And the dioramas themselves on the bottom here, diorama bases, look awesome as well. I think that's meant to be the Fortress of Solitude. Printing that in a clear translucent resin and having some white color on top would have looked awesome. I might do that in the future, but this just looks absolutely amazing. So I also do have this Batman board game, Batman Gotham City strategy game by WizKids, designed by Paulo Mori, which, yeah, the fam played together, so something really cool. I just wanted to showcase this because I've got like a few miniatures that are in there as well. So this board game comes with a map and figures like Penguin here, which looks really good colored, but I think that's the only thing that's lacking on the minis we printed today. They're not colored. We've got Penguin, we've got Killer Croc, who kind of looks a little bit dopey, but yeah, it's a really small figure, so kind of expected. We've got Two-Face, who looks pretty cool. I think Two-Face is done really well in that like blue and white kind of deco. I'm colorblind, so I don't know if that's blue or not, but I think it is. Anyway, that looks really cool with this small weapon in his hand as well. We've got the Joker as well, who's got like a pretty cool cane, and the color on them, the paint on them is not that bad. I mean, with Joker as well, it looks pretty decent. And we've also got this Batman from this set. And I always found this Batman to look slightly dopey. I don't know what it is. It's probably the pose. I don't know if it's the pose or just like the head sculpt on the mini, but it's not the best. So if we compare this to something like what Trident Studios has done, although this is a little bit bigger in scale, has so much more detail, and if this was painted, that would look so amazing. So I think if you have like miniature board games like this, having barrels and things like this set up, I'll just go to a different camera angle. So I think in any miniature kind of game or any tabletop setting, if you have like these diorama pieces that, imagine these were painted, this looks so amazing and adds so much to your world and your map. I think that's the best part about like having 3D printers and being able to fill your world with like a lot of details. So I think that's what really I want to kind of build out like a small DC probably minis collection with like a lot of good dioramas and stuff like that. Since the content on my channel is usually about 3D printed action figures, I wanted to take some files from the Lychee library and create some diorama pieces specific for my action figures, which are mostly in 6-inch scale. So what I chose to do is take some of the amazing files from Trident Studios and Thread Factory and scale them up to action figure scale using my scale identifier and print these files to be 6-inch in scale. Now for the 6-inch side of things, I've taken files from Thread Factory and basically just jumbo sized them. And this is exactly these files just blown up to be closer to 6-inch scale. I did add some holes to the bottom and hollowed the parts out because I didn't want to print this whole thing in resin, which would be a lot of resin. But that's that. And we've also got holes under the crate, which was not as clean as I would have liked. But we've got holes under both the barrel and the crate, and they are massively blown up. So as you can see here, I use my scale finder file to basically make them bigger. This is what the barrel now compares to against a 6-inch action figure. I'll slightly tilt the camera up. So they look a lot more in proportion. You can see that the Batman figure that I made is around the same scale as these parts. Another thing I printed out was this base file from Trident Studios, and this looks like a really cool kind of asphalt base with a lot of cracks. Maybe it could be desert as well, but depending on how you paint it, this could look many different ways. There's a lot of cracks, there's a lot of like things that are raised up, and just I think if I paint this up really well, this would add so much to a diorama. So say I had Nightwing on this diorama like that, and I'll quickly just tilt the camera up. So if I had something like that, it adds so much to the display because now it's not just a figure, but there's like a little bit of color or a splash of something else that's going on around it. So that's something else I want to try out later on with more stuff, possibly from the Lychee library or just files that I find here and there. But all of these files were found on the Lychee library, and it just given me so many options and opportunities to do different things that I couldn't normally do because I'm focused on my own niche. So having the option and opportunity to play with all these files and create all these kind of miniature stories or basically just these files, these big diorama pieces that I can now add onto any of my backgrounds if I paint them up. These small diorama pieces that will tell additional stories for my miniature collection. If I start one, it just adds a lot to basically the possibilities of what you can do with your 3D printer. So I think that's absolutely amazing, and I am really having a lot of fun playing around with the Lychee library. Now this next feature is what I'm the most excited about in this update of Lychee Slicer. This feature is a game changer for me because I have to deal with so many parts at any given time to print an action figure. If you can see on screen now, this is my Lychee Slicer setup. I've got 3 plates going on here, which is the feature that Lychee has introduced with this new update. Basically, you can create multi plates and set up things so you can easily print stuff. The reason this is a game changer is because say I'm printing Absolute Batman, which has like not too many colors, but it's like a 2-color figure and a lot of joints. So the plate that I've set up now, I've got all the black parts on one plate, all the gray parts on one plate. When I say gray parts, parts that are predominantly gray with maybe some black parts like here and there. If you look at the boots and the thighs here, these are predominantly gray parts because even with the boots, it's easier to get the black on the gray than the gray on the black. So I usually print the gray first, or they usually print the part in gray and then add on the black on top, which will make it look a lot cleaner than say printing it in black and then adding in the gray. So things like that, I can easily have plates set up, and also I can just import everything onto one plate to make sure that I've got everything first, and then easily move things around different plates as well, and it just does it so seamlessly. Easily move things around plates. So the way I've set this up here is I've got all these parts on the first plate here called the black plate with black parts, so that these print in a black resin. All these parts here are gray plate, and I can print all of these in the gray resin. And the third plate here, let's rename that plate. The third plate here I would call it the joints plate. So I can use like tougher, more durable resin for these joints, and that becomes I think that plate. So with this absolute Batman figure, if I want to productionize this figure and have a lot of prints going out for this figure, say I wanted to make 5 figures, to make that super easy, I can use one build plate, copy everything over, and then still have a lot of space to add stuff into the plate. So I was printing this in black, printing this in gray, printing this in tougher resin, and I can basically just multiply this with more parts so that I can maximize the build plate and basically have a lot more things printing at once. It really streamlines the process of making more parts with more convenience, and you're not forgetting about anything. So I've deliberately left a few things off the build plate so I can add stuff in there live, and I'll quickly do that now. So I've not got the head in there, so I want to print the head in black resin because Batman's mask or cowl is predominantly black. So this showed up in the joint section here. You can also see that there's this object has some structural errors, so might have some holes or gaps or something like that. It's super easy to repair the model so that it will print right. It will plug all the gaps, anything else that was in there. So there's structural issues that were fixed. There were no holes, which I think is still okay. So the model is fully repaired and ready to be printed. So that model I can quickly move to the right section, which is the black plate, so that I can print it in the black resin. So I can quickly then reposition the sculpt the way I would orient it. I need high supports, light support, so that they come off really easily. And then I auto support it because that's the easiest way to do it. I am a little bit more lazy in terms of like support placement and all of that, so please forgive me, but I found this to be really easy, really convenient, and then just cuts down on my time printing or setting up prints. So I just add a little bit additional supports in there so that the part doesn't fall off during printing. But yeah, so say that was the head all done. Now that's ready, right? So it's easy, really easy, and then I can still keep track of what's where. So this feature is a real game changer for me, especially because I want to now get into trying different resins for different parts. So with the black plate and the gray plate, I can use more flexible resins because these are not all joint parts. So even if they're more flexible, it just means that it will be harder for them to break, whereas the joints need to be tougher and stronger. So I would print them in a tougher resin. So it just makes it really convenient that way to print something. There are a few other parts that are missing as well, so let's add them in as well so I can do like this live demo. So this absolute Batman also comes with axe accessory that he uses heavily in the comics, so I'm just importing that in now. And because this axe part is something that I do not want to forget, because if I do a production run, I would want the accessories to be in there as well. So I would import that in, and it being an axe, it doesn't necessarily need to be in the black or the gray or the joints kind of section. I mean, having it not in the joint section probably makes sense because we don't want it to be too rigid and too difficult to flex or combine. But basically, if I want to then print the axe, I can generate the supports easily, very quickly. And also, I'll do that for the axe head part as well. But once I have the axe already and set up, I can look at the space that I have in each one of my build plates, because the axe doesn't necessarily need to be printed in black or gray. It could be printed in either one. So I'll look at the empty space that's on all of the build plates and position it so that it is on the build plate that has the most space available. So because we have most space available on the black plate at the moment, so I'll just put it in the black plate for now. The reason I'm doing that is because for the joints, I want to duplicate the joints so that I have more joints that I can put onto more figures, because I'm productionizing this. It's just a hypothetical scenario, but I would duplicate these joints, and that takes up a lot more space. I can also take this and quickly do that, which gives me even more space if I do that, and then just position things better on the build plate, right? So if I do that, then I basically can get rid of that because it's the same as this. Duplicate that over and then move it across so that I have more space on the build plate for possibly additional items on this build plate, which I believe I can easily do now because I've oriented that a little bit different. So say I've got this now, everything's fitting on the build plate, and I've still got some empty gaps here and there. So if I wanted to move that to not be touching anything else, I could easily do that. So that gives me a lot of flexibility and a lot of space to do additional things. So say I've got like a few more accessories like these hands that hold different parts of the body here. Now it'll come into this active kind of section here, which I do not want it to go into. So what I would do then, and if I want like a different plate for the additional hands, I can just start creating a different plate and moving everything into that section there. So it just becomes so much more convenient for me. I'm not forgetting any of the parts. So we'll the build plate number 4, we'll relabel it as accessories, which makes it super simple. Everything is super trackable, super seamless. So all of these parts do look like they need repairing. So we'll quickly give them a quick repair. That's done. That's done. It's super quick. Usually it just plugs holes, fills gaps, anything that that is untoward onto the model. We quickly fix it. We will rotate it into position, and I'm not going to stress too much about the supports at this moment because we're just doing this as demo, but it just really helps my use case and my workflow. If you've been looking at what I'm doing there, this just helps me so much in terms of streamlining the process, getting things on different build plates if I want to print using different resins, making sure that I'm not forgetting any of the parts because the parts have all been accounted for, and I have a mind map or a visual representation of what's going on in my mind in terms of what I want to do with these different build plates, how I want to position them, what parts I want on each of the build plates, and basically just makes it so much easier to print things. So I think this is probably going to be the biggest addition to Lychee Slicer that I'm going to appreciate a hell of a lot of, because this makes printing so much easier for me and tracking things so much easier because I usually deal with a lot of small parts, and this just makes that so much easier to work around with. So now I've called this the accessories section because with the black plate we had these items here that are technically accessories. We can bring these across to the black plate, which is, it's that easy to do. And now we've got 4 plates set up, which means that even with the black plate, I've got more items or more space to play around with so that I could add more items to the build plate and double the number of things I could have otherwise printed, right? So I can now immediately print for 2 figures instead of 1 figure. So amazing stuff. Multi-plate is such a life changer, such a game changer for me. I think this is going to be one of the most heavily used features for me moving forward with Lychee, and just a very, very powerful tool. So that was the video, gang. I hope you found this video useful and informative. Lychee has introduced some amazing features like the Lychee Library that supports hobbyists who want to get to the painting and the playing as quickly as possible, and the multi-plate feature for people who want to streamline and simplify their production and printing workflows. Thank you so much, Lychee, for this opportunity to collaborate. Thank you to all of my viewers who keep me motivated to bring you more videos. And most of all, thank you to my Patreons, without whom all of this would not be possible. If you want to have a say on what figures I work on next, feel free to hop onto my Patreon for the monthly polls. And thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.